Imagine this: a bustling auto repair shop, tools, clanging engines, roaring, and amidst this symphony of mechanical chaos, a stern voice cuts through the air like a knife. What kind of joke is this? A child in my workshop during an official inspection. Mr. Davidson's voice booms sharp and authoritative, halting every wrench and hammer in Central Motors. There, next to a 2018 Chevrolet, stood Maya Thompson, a 12-year-old with her hands still clutching a wrench, her eyes wide with a mix of defiance and innocence. Maya, who had just arrived from school 20 minutes prior, was accustomed to this scene. Every day she would join her father, Marcus, the seasoned mechanic who had led the team for 15 years. "I'm sorry, Mr. Davidson," Marcus quickly interjected, moving towards his daughter. "Maya, go home. Now is not the time." But Davidson, with a dismissive wave, silenced him. This 50-year-old businessman, owner of one of the city's largest auto repair chains, was there not just for any inspection, but a surprise one that could seal the fate of Central Motors. His impeccable suit and polished Italian shoes stood in stark contrast to the oil-stained floors and grease-smeared walls. "Wait, Marcus, let the girl stay." Davison smirked, a malicious glint in his eye. "Actually, I have a better idea." Maya rose slowly, her gaze locking with that of the man whose mere presence could inspire dread. At her tender age, she had already learned to recognize the look of preconceived judgment, the same one that flickered in the eyes of some teachers, security guards, and even neighbors. It was a look that judged her capability based solely on her skin color and her youth. "You know what, Marcus? Your little girl looks very confident working on that engine," Davidson mused, striding over to where a Porsche 911, which had arrived 3 days earlier, was parked under a covered area at the back of the workshop. What would unfold next would challenge not just Maya's skills, but everyone's preconceptions. There's one enigma among these mechanical beasts that has our best minds stumped. Despite the skilled hands of my top mechanics from various branches, this engine simply refuses to roar to life. We've been unable to even coax a diagnostic from it. The laugh that erupted from Davidson's throat was chillingly deliberate, a sound that seemed to enjoy the torment of the unknown. "Why not give our resident expert a chance?" he proposed with a cruel twist to his lips. "If she can merely pinpoint the issue, I'll entertain the idea of keeping this place alive." A hush enveloped the workshop like a thick fog. The 8 mechanics, their faces a mix of discomfort and disbelief, exchanged wary looks. This Porsche, a mechanical mystery wrapped in chrome and leather, had eluded even Tony, the seasoned veteran, with 3 decades of grease under his nails. "Mr. Davidson, she's just a kid." Marcus ventured, his voice quivering with a mix of fear and hope. "Exactly," Davidson replied, his arms folded in mock contemplation. "A child, they say, who spends her days here meddling with machines. Surely she must know as much as any of you." Maya stood frozen for a moment, but within her a spark ignited, a familiar thrill that surged when she conquered math problems her peers deemed impossible, or when she resurrected gadgets others had discarded. Over the past 2 years, she had trained her eyes to catch the subtleties that even seasoned mechanics overlooked. The faint whispers of a failing part, the odd electrical patterns, the connections that made no logical sense. Her father dismissed it as childish curiosity, but Maya knew better. "All right," she declared, her voice steady as the calm before a storm. "I accept." Davidson's laughter boomed, echoing off the metal walls as he turned to the others. "Did you hear that? The girl accepts." He clapped slowly, each clap dripping with sarcasm. "But let's spice this up," he continued, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "If she succeeds, not only do I keep the shop open, but I'll sweeten the deal with a bonus for everyone." He paused, letting the weight of his next words sink in. "If she fails, well, I think you all know the stakes." As the room held its breath in a silence as tense as a tightrope, Mia approached the Porsche with a grace that belied her years. Her delicate hands like butterflies alighted on the hood, and in that fleeting moment, a transformation swept over her. Gone was the anxious face of a child, replaced by a visage of steely determination, the look of one who has not only accepted a challenge, but perhaps holds the key to its resolution. Davidson, oblivious to the fact that for the past 6 months, Maya had been delving into the depths of the most complex technical manuals stashed away in her father's office, had no inkling of the theory she had crafted about this very Porsche from the moment it rolled into the shop. There, amidst the skeptical glances and Davidson's smug smirk, Maya exuded a serene confidence, the kind that only those who know exactly where to find answers others seek in vain can possess. Imagine the scene. Maya, with the poise of a seasoned engineer, circled the Porsche, her gaze meticulously dissecting every inch of the exposed engine. Davidson, arms crossed, relished the moment, his voice dripping with a condescension. "Is this going to take long, Princess? Some of us have real work to do." The mechanics formed a semicircle, their expressions a mix of pity and intrigue. Tony Martinelli, the shop's veteran, leaned over to Marcus, whispering, "Man, this isn't right. She's just a kid." Marcus's jaw tight responded, "I know, but if I step in now, he'll shut us down on the spot." Maya, however, was impervious to the murmurs around her. Her hands, small yet sure, glided over the engine components, pausing here and there, and as if conversing with the machine itself, seeking not just to repair, but to understand, to connect. Here was a girl underestimated, yet standing on the precipice of proving everyone wrong. Could this be the moment where determination and hidden knowledge triumph over arrogance and doubt? Maya's fingers danced across the engine with a grace that belied her youth. To any casual observer, it might have seemed like she was merely feigning comprehension. But Tony saw something else, a method to her madness. She wasn't just touching parts. She was following a logical progression. First, she inspected the ignition system, her touch light yet precise. Then, with the same meticulous care, she moved to the fuel system and finally the electrical components. It was the exact sequence an experienced mechanic would employ. "Interesting," Maya whispered almost to herself, her voice a soft melody amidst the clanking of tools. Davidson's laughter boomed, cutting through the workshop like a foghorn. "What's the matter? Have you figured out? It's all over your head. Don't worry. No one will blame you for throwing in the towel." But Maya did not yield. Instead, she bent down, her eyes narrowing as she pointed at a small, unassuming black box connected to the onboard computer. "This module here," she said, her voice steady, "have you checked if it's sending the correct codes to the central system?" An uneasy silence enveloped the group, thick with the weight of oversight. Tony's brow furrowed. None of them had considered that particular component. It was a recent addition, unfamiliar to many of the seasoned mechanics. "Of course we checked," Davidson lied, his voice betraying his discomfort. "We've checked everything. The problem is this car requires a level of expertise you clearly don't possess." Maya nodded, her expression serene. "That makes sense. It's just that I read about these modules a few months ago." She paused, her words trailing off as if she had revealed too much. "You read about them where?" Tony's curiosity was genuine, his eyes wide with surprise. Maya glanced at her father, whose face mirrored Tony's astonishment. "In the technical manuals in the office. When you're not looking, Dad, I sometimes borrow them to study." Marcus blinked, taken aback. "Maya, those manuals are for certified mechanics. Some of them are in technical English." "I know," she replied simply, a hint of pride in her voice. "That's why I use the translator on my phone for the toughest parts." Ah, the wonders of modern technology. There are indeed some videos on YouTube that delve into these intricacies. Davidson let out a sarcastic laugh. "Perfect. The girl thinks YouTube University is enough to fix a $200,000 Porsche." He turned to the other men, his voice dripping with disbelief. "Are you hearing this? She wants to tackle a problem that has stumped expert engineers using YouTube videos." But Maya remained unfazed, her focus unwavering as she meticulously examined the engine with a precision that sent a shiver of discomfort down Davidson's spine. "The direct injection system on this model has a peculiarity," she declared, her voice gaining a newfound confidence. "If the control module doesn't recognize the correct digital signature, it shuts down the entire ignition as a safety measure." Tony, intrigued, moved closer. "What do you mean by digital signature?" "It's akin to an electronic password," Maya explained, now on familiar ground. "Each part has a unique code. If the computer suspects unauthorized replacement of parts, It simply refuses to cooperate. It's a measure against car theft. One of the younger mechanics, Jake, cleared his throat. I've never heard of that. That's because it's relatively new technology, Maya continued, pointing to various connections. Most technical courses haven't updated their curriculum yet, but the latest manuals cover everything. Davidson, feeling the ground shift beneath him, watched his amusement turn into irritation. Enough of this chatter. If you're so smart, prove it. Get the damn car running or admit you're just a stuck-up kid who read a few pages on the internet. The tension in the air was palpable, almost crackling with the unspoken challenge. Maya, undeterred, took a deep breath and met Davidson's gaze squarely. All right, but I'll need a few minutes alone with the key and a computer with internet access to download the reprogramming software. What software? Marcus asked, his surprise at his daughter's depth of knowledge growing by the second. To reset the digital signatures, Maya replied, her voice steady with determination. Davidson responded as if it were the most elementary truth known to mankind. It's not difficult, really. You simply have to know where to direct your gaze. His arms crossed in front of him, his face flushed with a mix of frustration and skepticism. I'm not about to let some young upstart tamper with the electronic system of a car that's worth more than this entire workshop combined. That's when Tony, ever the peacemaker, interjected. Let her give it a go, Davidson. If she botches it, you were going to scrap the car anyway, right? And if she pulls it off, he paused for dramatic effect. Well, then you end up with a perfectly functioning Porsche for nothing. Mia's eyes met Tony's gratitude shining within them. He had just handed her the perfect opportunity on a silver platter. For the last 6 months, while the others dismissed her as merely tinkering in the shop, Mia had been secretly unraveling the intricate dance of modern automotive electronics. She knew exactly what ailed the Porsche. She had pinpointed the issue on her very first day, but lacked the courage to voice her findings. Now, with the weight of her father's legacy on her shoulders, she had no other path. As Davidson grumbled his grudging consent, Mia steeled herself to unveil insights that would leave everyone in stunned silence. Unbeknownst to them all, she had, over the past few weeks, surreptitiously infiltrated the shop's diagnostic system to analyze similar vehicular ailments. The underestimated girl was about to demonstrate mastery over skills that seasoned engineers spent years honing. And Davidson, who had staked his reputation on her supposed ineptitude, was on the brink of realizing he had underestimated the wrong individual. 15 minutes, Mia declared with a serene certainty as she linked her personal laptop to the Porsche's diagnostic port. That's all I need. Davidson's laugh was nervous, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. There was something about the girl's unwavering confidence that was unsettling, a silent promise that she was not to be underestimated. Maya's fingers danced across the keyboard with a grace that left Tony stunned, each keystroke precise and purposeful. No longer were these the tentative taps of a novice. These were the bold strokes of a master at work. Dad, she murmured, her eyes never straying from the screen. Do you recall when I mentioned studying the technical manuals? Marcus, still grappling with the unfolding scene, managed a nod. I wasn't just studying, she confessed, her voice steady. I was hacking. A chilling silence swept through the workshop. Davidson stepped forward, his face flushing with a mix of disbelief and anger. What did you just say? He demanded, his voice cracking with tension. Maya, unfazed, kept typing, her focus unwavering. 6 months ago, I infiltrated the NA Porsche diagnostic system. She explained, her words swift to dispel any notions of mischief. Not to steal, she clarified, catching the horrified looks from those around her, but to understand why so many cars with the same issue you couldn't solve kept coming in here. Davidson's nervousness was palpable now, his voice quivering as he stammered. That's impossible. A child can't break Aussie Porsche security systems. Maya finally met his gaze, her expression composed. You're right, she conceded. A normal child couldn't, but I've realized I'm not a normal child, not when I started seeing patterns that others missed. The laptop screen now displayed a cascade of code appearing chaotic to all but Maya. This Porsche has the same glitch as 17 others that rolled into Wilcor partner garages over the past 8 months. She declared, her tone almost accusatory. Do you want to know why? Her question lingered heavy with implication as Davison struggled to keep his composure, his hands trembling. I have no idea what you're implying. He managed his voice barely above a whisper. I'm not implying anything. Maya stated, her voice clear and strong. I'm stating facts. As Maya's voice rang out with newfound authority, the room fell into a hush, even the adults silenced by her commanding tone. I'm proving it, she declared, swiveling her laptop to reveal a shocking tableau. Before their eyes, a list unfurled, each entry marked with serial numbers, dates, and locations like sinister markers on a map of deceit. Every one of these cars was sabotaged on purpose right on the assembly line. She explained, her words slicing through the air. The control module was programmed to fail precisely 90 days after the first ignition. Tony, drawn like a moth to the light of revelation, leaned closer, his eyes darting over the damning data. My God, this is real, he murmured, his voice a mix of awe and dread. Completely real, Maya confirmed with a nod. With a deft click, she opened another tab, unveiling contracts and internal documents. And here's the kicker, she continued, her voice rising with intensity. All these defective cars were repurchased by Porsche for a pittance, easily fixed by removing a single line of code, then resold as refurbished, with profit margins of 300%. Davison, now visibly perspiring, could barely contain his panic. Where did you get these documents? He stammered, his voice tinged with desperation. This is confidential information. For the first time, a smile broke across Maya's face, a grim triumph in her eyes. From the same source that told me you, Mr. Davison, receive a 15% commission on every defective car that your network of repair shops can't fix. She retorted, her gaze piercing. The silence that followed was deafening, that chasm of unspoken truths. Davidson, like a fish gasping for air, opened and closed his mouth several times, struggling to form words. That's, you can't prove it, he managed to choke out. Oh, but I can. Maya countered, her fingers dancing across the keyboard to open another window. The screen now displayed a barrage of emails between Davison and Porsche executives, detailing the very scheme Maya had laid bare. Lists of cars to leave unresolved, names of participating repair shops, and bank transfers with precise commission amounts stared back at them. Marcus, moving closer, peered over his daughter's shoulder, his face a canvas of evolving emotions. From surprise to a seething outrage, his voice trembled as he spoke. Davidson, you knew all along. You knew. Maya's revelation left the room in a state of stunned silence. He didn't just know. She continued, her voice rising with a blend of frustration and determination. He actively instructed the mechanics to avoid real solutions. Her finger jabbed at the screen, pointing out a specific directive. Look here, this message explicitly says, keep staff focused on traditional diagnostics. Do not mention the possibility of software reprogramming. Declare unserviceable after 48 hours. The atmosphere in the room thickened with tension. Jake, the youngest mechanic, his voice trembling with barely contained fury, stepped forward. You made us look incompetent on purpose. How many times did we stay here late, sweating over problems you knew were impossible to fix with the methods you prescribed? Davidson, in a last-ditch effort to salvage his reputation, spat out, She's a hacker, a criminal. You're going to believe a child who broke into systems illegally? Maybe, Mia responded, her tone unexpectedly calm amidst the chaos. But you're going to have to believe them too. With a final decisive click, she revealed a live feed from the shop's social media page. The view count soared past 847 each second, adding to the tally. Every conversation, every revelation, every accidental confession Davidson had made was now public knowledge. I turned on the broadcast when I started hacking the system, Mia explained, her eyes locked on Davidson's now ghostly pale face. I thought people deserved to know the truth about why their cars were never ready. Tony let out a low whistle, a mix of awe and disbelief. Maya, you recorded everything, every deceitful word he uttered. The comments on the live stream flooded in like a dam breaking. Is that Davidson from Central Motors? That son of a gun charged me $3,000 claiming my car was irreparable. My sister lost her job because her car broke down and she couldn't get to work. This guy knew how to fix it all along. Has anyone called the FBI? This is fraud on a national scale. Davidson's gaze flickered from the screen to the furious faces encircling him, and then back to Maya, the architect of his downfall. His world was crumbling, and all he could do was watch. As Maya flicked the power switch, silencing the live feed and snapping the laptop shut, the room seemed to shrink around Davidson. His gaze, previously filled with disdain, now flickered with a mix of pity and a steely resolve. Why? He whispered, his voice barely a shadow of its former bravado. Maya's response was delivered with a maturity that belied her tender age of 12. Because you gambled on the assumption that a black girl from the projects would never possess the intellect to unravel your deceit. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken injustices. Every time you looked at me, you saw not a person, but a stereotype, someone too insignificant to pose a threat. She paused, her eyes locking onto Davidson's with an intensity that could pierce steel. I've been piecing together your pattern for months, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to unveil your treachery. And you and your hubris handed me that moment on a silver platter when you chose to publicly shame me. The distant wail of sirens began to crescendo, slicing through the tense silence. Someone had alerted the authorities during the broadcast. Davidson's eyes darted toward the door, then back to Maya, the realization dawning that he had not just underestimated a child, but a mind far superior to his own. As the sirens screamed closer, signaling the end of Davidson's career, Maya stood serene, her heart steady. She understood that this was more than a personal victory. It was the first stride towards dismantling a corrupt system that had ensnared so many. What none of them realized was that this broadcast had not merely exposed a local fraud. It had ignited the interest of those with far greater influence. These were the individuals who were about to present Maya with opportunities that would redefine the very essence of being underestimated. 3 months later, Maya found herself in a sleek conference room in downtown Seattle. Around her sat executives from Tesla, Google, and Microsoft, their faces a mix of curiosity and respect. As she launched into her presentation on automotive technology, her voice resonated with the power of someone who had not just witnessed change, but had been its catalyst. As the applause thundered through the auditorium, Maya stood at the forefront, her heart swelling with pride. Congratulations, Maya, Jennifer Walsh, VP of Tesla, exclaimed with a voice full of admiration. Your real-time detection system proposal has the potential to transform our industry. She declared, her words painting a picture of a future reshaped by innovation. The room buzzed with excitement over the prospect of a $2 million consulting contract to kickstart this venture. Just 3 months ago, Maya was merely known as the mechanic's daughter. Now she was at the epicenter of a storm of interest from the titans of technology. Her live broadcast had swept across the internet like wildfire, amassing over 15 million views and capturing the gaze of the national media. Yet amidst the whirlwind of applause and accolades, Maya's thoughts drifted back to her roots. Thank you for this incredible opportunity, she responded, her voice steady but her eyes thoughtful. However, I must discuss this with my family first. And there's one condition, she added, causing a ripple of curiosity among the executives. I want part of the project to be developed in my father's workshop. Tony Jake and the rest of his team deserve to be part of this journey. Across town in a modest one-bedroom apartment, Davidson was sorting through the remnants of his former life. After the scandal, not only had he lost his job, but he also faced federal fraud charges leading to 18 months of house arrest and a staggering $500,000 fine. His wife had left, taking half of his dwindling assets with her. The 47 repair shops he once ruled were sold off to appease the aggrieved. Now he eked out a living on a meager Social Security check and occasional consultancy gigs at small repair shops, the very establishments he once looked down upon. Can it really be that a mere child has toppled my empire? He murmured to himself, his voice laced with bitterness as he watched a TV report showcasing Maya receiving a national award for young innovators. Meanwhile, at what was formerly Central Motors, now proudly renamed Thompson and Daughter Automotive Technology, Marcus watched with a father's pride as Maya, his daughter, explained engineering, marvels to a captivated audience of journalists. Her voice, clear and confident, spoke of innovation and the future, echoing the legacy of her father's workshop. The once mundane workshop now buzzed with the energy of a training and development hub, where the youth of the community immersed themselves in the cutting-edge world of automotive technology. "Dad," Maya said, her voice a gentle pause from the clicking cameras. "Do you remember when you insisted I should study more and tinker less with cars?" Marcus's laughter rang out, his eyes glistening with tears of pride. "It seems you were right all along, my dear." Tony approached, tablet in hand, displaying a new diagnostic system Maya had masterfully crafted. "Maya, we've been in this business for 30 years thinking we knew it all about cars, yet you've shown us the vast expanse of our ignorance." Maya's response was soft yet profound. "It wasn't about knowing more, but about seeing it with new eyes. You knew the right things, but others obscured your path to the answers." Jake, now a supervisor in the newly formed electronic diagnostics division, nodded in deep admiration. "That 12-year-old girl taught us more about justice than any adult we've known." 6 months after the scandal that rocked their world, Maya's innovative system had found its way into over 2,000 repair shops nationwide, unveiling and correcting similar instances of corporate deceit. She had established a nonprofit organization, Clean Codes, dedicated to providing free automotive technology education to young individuals from underprivileged backgrounds. During a heartfelt talk at a local school, a 14-year-old boy, his eyes wide with curiosity, asked, "Maya, how did you find the courage to confront that man? He seems so much more powerful than you." Maya's smile was tinged with the memory of that pivotal moment in the repair shop. "At first, he was indeed more powerful. He wielded money influence and control over my father's livelihood. But he made a critical error." The boy, leaning forward, whispered, "What was that?" "He mistook power for intelligence, and in that confusion." In the room filled with eager teenagers, Maya's words struck like lightning, illuminating the darkness of prejudice with the bright spark of truth. She spoke of how the world often measures us by our age, our skin color, our outward appearances, rather than the fire of our spirit or the depth of our intellect. "When you underestimate someone due to your own biases," she declared, her voice resonant with conviction, "you gift them the greatest weapon of all, the element of surprise." Davidson, in his arrogance, thought he had measured Maya's limits before even knowing her. This hubris made him lazy, careless, and ultimately vulnerable. He never imagined that Maya could pose any real threat. Yet there she stood, a beacon of unexpected strength and knowledge. A young girl in the back, her hand raised, posed a poignant question. "But what if you had failed? What if you couldn't prove his deceit?" Maya's laughter, light and triumphant, filled the room. "I couldn't fail," she replied, "because I was already armed with the knowledge he thought I lacked. I had spent countless nights, months studying that very problem. When he challenged me, I was ready, fully equipped with the answers." Concluding her narrative, Mia's voice carried a powerful echo. "The sweetest revenge isn't toppling those who have wronged you. It's mastering your craft to such an extent that their underestimation becomes their downfall." 2 years hence, Mia was not just surviving, she was thriving at MIT, her genius recognized and nurtured through a special program for the extraordinarily gifted, all while managing her burgeoning consulting business from afar. Davidson, however, found himself ensnared by his past actions. His attempts to find new employment in the automotive world were thwarted at every turn by the scandal that shadowed his every move. The last sighting of him was at a modest repair shop in the suburbs, pleading for a chance only to be turned away by an owner who knew his name from the headlines. Mia's journey was a testament to the power of rising above, transforming an attempt at humiliation into a stepping stone for a career that not only reshaped her destiny, but also left an indelible mark on an entire industry. Here was a young woman who proved that true revenge is not about dragging others down to your level, but about elevating yourself so high that they become inconsequential. She wasn't just another mechanic. She was a beacon of hope in a world that had lost its way. Tasked with repairing an engine deemed unfixable, she did more than just mend metal. She dismantled a web of corruption, opened doors for countless young souls like her, and demonstrated that the gravest error is to measure someone's worth by their outward appearance. This tale of unyielding determination and justice, has it stirred something within you? If so, let us not part ways here. Subscribe to our channel. Consider this. What if the world is waiting for more Maya's individuals who wield their intelligence not as a weapon, but as a tool for change? True strength, after all, isn't about the might you possess, but how you wield it. Share your tales of underestimation in the comments below. Have you ever been underestimated only for the underestimator to later rue their judgment? Your story could ignite a spark of inspiration in others, urging them never to surrender in proving their worth. To all who have journeyed with us through this saga, thank you for your time, your heart, and your attention. Your support fuels our passion to bring these stories to life. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, for together we can keep the flame of hope and change burning bright.